Welcome back. Today we're dusting off a book that I guarantee sits on a massive number of bookshelves. It gets quoted in thousands of LinkedIn posts and boardrooms, but is, and I think I can say this with some confidence, rarely actually understood. We are returning to The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
It's good to be back. And you are so right about the reputation of this book. It's the classic coffee table strategy text. People buy it because they want to feel like a shark or a warrior. They think it's a manual on how to be aggressive.
Right. It has war right there in the title. You
Yeah.
expect, I don't know, instructions on how to crush people.
Exactly.
Huh?
But when you actually read it, and specifically the chapter we're getting into today, it is almost entirely about the opposite. It's a manual on how to avoid the fight, how to win so completely that the fight becomes, well, unnecessary.
That is the core theme we are exploring. This is part 2 of our series on Sun Tzu, and we are focusing exclusively on Chapter 3, Attack by Strategy. And I have to be honest with you, after going through the research, really sitting with the text, I realized I've been using the word winning wrong my entire adult life.
Yeah, that is a very common realization.
Yeah.
We're conditioned to think of winning as this big event, a climax. The whistle blows, you're holding the trophy, the other guy's on the ground.
Domination.
Domination. But Sun Tzu is arguing that if you're crushing anyone, if you are in that climactic battle, you have already made a huge strategic error. He's saying the most successful victory is the one where you never actually have to fight.
Which feels like a total paradox. A war manual that tells you not to fight. But we're going to unpack why that is actually the ultimate form of strength. So just to frame this for everyone listening, we aren't talking about ancient battlefields, no chariots, no spears.
Not today.
We are taking these principles and mapping them directly onto modern friction. We're talking about the boardroom, the living room, and even the internal habits we fight with every single day.
Because the mechanics of conflict are universal. Whether it's a state launching a military campaign, or you trying to negotiate a raise, or even trying to get your toddler to put on shoes, the physics of attack by strategy are identical.
I love that phrase, the physics of conflict. Okay, before we get into the heavy lifting, I have a quick favor to ask. If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one.
It really does help us keep these conversations going.
It does. Okay, let's open the text. Chapter 3, Attack by Strategy. Sun Tzu doesn't just give us a bunch of, random advice here. He actually builds a hierarchy. It's almost a ranking system for how to win.
It is. It's a ladder of excellence. And this hierarchy is critical because it tells you exactly how a master strategist thinks versus how an amateur thinks. Sun Tzu lists 4 ways to deal with a conflict, ranked from best to worst. And the gap between the first and the last, it's the difference between a genius and a fool.
Okay, let's start at the top. The gold medal, the absolute best way to win.
The highest form of generalship, he says, is to balk the enemy's plans.
Balk the plans. What does that mean in plain English?
In some translations, it's attack the strategy. It's the highest level because it happens before any physical action takes place. You are countering their intent.
How do you attack an intent? That sounds a little abstract.
Okay, think of it like a game of chess, but not just moving pieces. Imagine you're playing a grandmaster. A grandmaster isn't just reacting to your last move. They're looking at the board and they see that in, 10 moves, you want to control the center.
Right. They see the future plan.
So they make this tiny, subtle pawn move way over on the edge of the board that just renders your entire future plan impossible.
They kill the strategy before it's even born.
That's it, exactly.
Yeah.
You sit there and realize, oh, I can't even start my attack. They have balked your plan. In a negotiation, this might be framing the discussion so clearly and beneficially that the other side never even thinks to make a hostile demand.
So you dissolve the conflict before it even crystallizes.
Precisely. You are neutralizing the threat while it's still just an idea. That's the pinnacle. Let's put that on screen for a moment. Highest win, no fighting.
Okay, but that's hard. That takes serious foresight. What if you miss that window? What's the second best option? The silver medal.
Sun Tzu says the next best is to disrupt their alliances.
Isolate them.
Right, you cut them off from their support. In ancient war, that meant convincing the enemy's allies to just stay home or cutting off their supply lines. But think about the office.
The office politics version of this? I can picture it already.
Yeah. Let's say there's a person blocking your project. They're just being difficult. The amateur approach is to attack them, to argue with them in a meeting. That's low-level thinking.
That's attacking the army.
It is. The disrupting alliances approach is to look at why they're powerful. Maybe they're powerful because they have the backing of the finance department.
So you don't attack the blocker, you go to finance.
You go to finance. You explain the value of your project. You align your interests with theirs. And suddenly, the blocker looks behind them, and nobody is there. You've disrupted their alliance, their power just evaporates, and you win without a shout ever being raised.
That's pretty clever. Okay, so step 1, stop the plan before it starts. Step 2, isolate them. What's step 3? Where do we go next?
Step 3, and just notice how far down the list we are now, is to attack the army in the field.
This is what we actually think of as war.
This is the actual conflict. This is the argument, the lawsuit, the shouting match. Sun Tzu puts this third because now you are spending resources. Now people are getting hurt. Now the outcome is uncertain. Even if you win, you have paid a steep price.
It's incredible that the thing we consider conflict is actually the third worst option in his entire book.
It is a failure of strategy to end up on the battlefield. That's a key idea to hold on to. Attack strategy, not armies.
Okay, and the worst, the bottom of the barrel, the thing you never, ever do.
The absolute worst policy of all is to besiege walled cities.
Besieging the city?
It's the lowest form of warfare. And we really need to get the imagery here to understand why he hates it so much. A siege in ancient China wasn't an afternoon event. It took months, sometimes years. You have to build towers, you have to feed your army while they just sit there, and the enemy is dug in behind stone walls. It's a grinder.
A battle of attrition.
It consumes everything. Resources, time, morale, money, at a completely unsustainable rate. Sun Tzu says that in a siege you will lose 1/3 of your men just trying to scale the walls.
1/3. Just like that. That's a catastrophic casualty rate.
It's insane, and yet how many times do we do this in our own lives? We get into an argument where the other person is walled up, they're defensive, they're not listening, they've locked the gates, and what do?
We attack harder. We get louder.
We attack harder, we hammer them with logic, we repeat our points over and over, we try to starve them out with a silent treatment. We are laying siege.
We're laying siege to their ego.
Exactly, and just like the ancient siege, it destroys you. You
Right.
burn out, you get resentful, you lose your own emotional resources trying to force entry into a mind that has closed itself off. Sun Tzu is screaming across the centuries, don't do this. It is the definition of strategic failure.
That's such a powerful image. The idea that if I'm banging my head against a wall, I haven't just run into a problem. I have made a strategic error by even being there in the first place.
You chose the wrong terrain. You chose the wrong method.
This connects directly to the core concept of this whole chapter, right? There's that quote, "In the practical art of war, the best thing of all is to take the enemy's country whole and intact. To shatter and destroy it is not so good."
Whole and intact. Those 3 words change everything.
It feels, I don't know, almost compassionate for a general.
It's not compassion. It's economics. It's pure pragmatism. Think about it. If you invade a country to capture its resources, but in the process you burn the fields, destroy the cities, kill the workforce, what have you actually won?
You've won a pile of ash.
Yeah.
And a bill for reconstruction.
Exactly. You've shattered the prize. A true victory is capturing the value without destroying the asset. Now let's translate that to a modern merger and acquisition. We see this all the time. Company A wants to buy Company B.
Right.
They launch a hostile takeover. It gets ugly. They sue each other. They badmouth each other in the press.
Becomes a siege.
A total siege.
Yeah.
And by the time the deal finally closes, what happens? The top talent at Company B has already quit because they hate the new owners. The culture is toxic. The clients are spooked. Company A won the deal. They signed the paper, but they failed to take the company whole and intact,
They bought a shell. They destroyed the value in the process of capturing it.
which is a strategic failure. That's something to remember. Sieges destroy value.
And this is such a powerful lens for relationships, too. I mean, if you're in a marriage.
It is the only lens for marriage. If you win an argument with your spouse by, proving them logically wrong, embarrassing them, forcing them to admit they're an idiot, congratulations, you won the debate.
But you've shattered the harmony.
You've damaged the alliance, to use Sun Tzu's term. You might be right on the facts, but you have failed strategically because the goal of a relationship is connection, not domination. You didn't keep the relationship whole.
So attack by strategy isn't about being clever enough to win efficiently. It's about being clever enough to get what you want while keeping the whole system working.
Perfectly put. It's about preservation just as much as it is about acquisition.
But let me play devil's advocate here for a second, because I can hear some people thinking, this sounds nice and all, but sometimes people are just wrong. Sometimes you have to fight. Avoiding the fight can sound soft. Isn't there a risk of just being passive?
That is a great question, and it's a common one. Sun Tzu isn't a pacifist. He's a general. He is perfectly willing to use force if he has to. But he is obsessed, and I mean obsessed, with the cost.
The price tag of the conflict.
He's a very practical accountant when it comes to war. In the previous chapter, he talks about the 1,000 ounces of silver per day.
That's a lot of silver.
It's a metaphor for the immense bleeding drain on the state. He lists this all out. The cost of glue, paint, armor, chariots, provisions, the exhaustion of the people. He says explicitly, there is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare.
Never. Not one.
Never. He challenges the reader to find one. War just drains the treasury. It causes inflation. It creates unrest. So to answer your question, you aren't avoiding the fight because you're nice. You are avoiding the fight because fighting is expensive. You're protecting your own resources. Let's put that on screen. Escalation. Lost resources.
Okay, so let's bring that 1,000 ounces of silver into today, because most of us aren't buying chariot glue. But we are paying a tax on conflict, aren't we?
Oh, we are paying a massive tax. We just paid in different currencies. These are the modern costs of escalation.
Let's break those down. What's the first currency we pay with?
The first, and arguably the most valuable, is attention cost. Cognitive load. Conflict is incredibly sticky in the brain. If you're in a feud with a coworker or fighting with a neighbor, how much of your day do you spend thinking about it?
Oh, it's constant. You're replaying arguments in the shower. You're drafting angry emails in your head while you're driving. You wake up at 3 in the morning with the perfect comeback.
Exactly. And human attention is a finite resource. It is the fuel for your life. Every hour you spend fantasizing about winning an argument is an hour you are not spending on your work, on your family, on your own growth. You are literally paying your brain power to the enemy.
That is a terrifying way to put it, an attention tax.
It is. Then there's relationship cost. This is the scorched earth policy. Trust, it takes years to build, years of consistent behavior. But a real nasty conflict can wash all that away in an afternoon.
And once it's gone, nothing grows there.
Nothing grows.
Right.
You can apologize, sure. But the landscape has changed. Then you have reputation cost. If you're known as the person who fights every battle, who always goes to the mat, people just stop bringing you opportunities.
You become a liability. High friction.
Exactly. People naturally route around high-friction objects. So you might win the battles, but you lose the war because you stop getting invited to the table.
And finally, there's just straight-up opportunity cost.
The resources you spend fighting cannot be spent building. Every dollar you spend on a lawyer is a dollar not spent on research. Every ounce of emotional energy you throw at a grudge is energy stolen from your future.
So the real mission here is redefining winning. A winner isn't the person standing over the defeated opponent. A winner is the person who achieved their objective so smoothly that an opponent never even materialized in the first place.
That is the grandmaster level.
Okay, I am sold on the why. I don't want to pay the 1,000 ounces of silver. I want to keep my world whole and intact. But now we have to get to the how. Because attack by strategy sounds cool, but what do I actually do on a Tuesday morning?
It starts with something Sun Tzu calls foreknowledge, but we can translate it as resolve early through clarity. That's a key takeaway. Resolve early through clarity.
Explain that.
Most conflict, 90% of it, is actually confusion disguised as aggression. Sun Tzu says you can't balk the enemy's plans if you don't know what they are. You have to understand the intent.
This sounds like that concept from principled negotiation.
It's exactly that. The Harvard model distinguishes between positions and interests. A position is what someone says they want. I want a 10% raise. I want this report by Friday.
And we usually fight the position. You can't have 10%. Bam, conflict.
Right. You're attacking the army in the field, shield against shield. But an interest is the why. Why do they want the raise? Maybe they feel undervalued. Maybe they're worried about inflation. Maybe they just need a win.
And if you know the interest...
If you know the interest, you can balk the plan of the argument. You could say, I can't do 10% cash, but I can offer more equity. Or how about a title bump and a flexible schedule? You satisfy the interest, the need for value, without ever fighting the position.
So you're addressing the underlying need before it solidifies into a rigid demand you have to fight.
Yes. Once it becomes a demand, it's a walled city. Now, ego is involved. You want to catch it way upstream.
Which requires you to actually be observant. You have to be looking for the smoke before you see the fire.
And that brings us to the next practical tool. Shape conditions before emotions spike. Let's put that on screen. Shape conditions first.
The notes mentioning the OODA loop here. I know that's a military term for fighter pilots. How does that apply to an argument with my boss?
ODO stands for observe, orient, decide, act. The theory is that in any conflict, the person who can cycle through this loop faster wins. You get inside the reaction time.
Okay, walk me through that in a real-life meeting.
Sure. You're presenting an idea. You see a colleague's eyebrows draw together. They cross their arms. That is observe. You notice the data point.
Most people would just ignore that and keep talking.
They do. They wait for the explosion. But you observe. Now you orient. You think, okay, Dave's defensive about his budget, and he thinks my idea threatens it. That's the context. Now you decide. I need to reassure him immediately. And you act. You pause and say, now, Dave, before I go further, I want to be clear that this won't touch your third quarter allocation.
Wow. Okay, so you defused the bomb before Dave even opened his mouth to object.
You balked his plan. Dave was preparing to launch an objection. You used the OD loop to resolve the tension before he could even fire. You maintained the peace.
And this connects to removing friction, right? Using things like nonviolent communication.
NVC is a perfect tool for this. Friction often comes from judgment, or what MVC calls evaluation. When you say you're being lazy, that is an evaluation, it's an attack. The army is going to fight back.
Defenses go way up. You've just started a war.
But if you use observation, just stating facts without judgment, like, I noticed the dishes are still in the sink, you remove the friction. You attack the problem, not the person.
That's so hard to do in the moment. We love to judge.
We do. But judgment is expensive. It costs you cooperation. Another key lever is timing. Sun Tzu has that line about spirits being keen in the morning and sluggish in the evening.
Right. In the morning, spirits are keen.
In the evening, they flag and thoughts turn toward home. It's simple biology. Don't have high-stakes conversations when people are tired, hungry, or rushing. That's a strategic choice. We should put that on screen. Control tone and timing.
Half of all arguments probably happen just because people violate that one rule.
It's self-sabotage. You wait for the keen spirit.
I want to circle back to the danger at the siege for a second,
Yeah.
because the metaphor of the walled city is really about ego, isn't it?
It is entirely about ego battles. When someone digs in, they've built a wall around their opinion. Sun Tzu has this fascinating insight into why generals launch sieges. He warns that a general unable to control his irritation will launch swarming ant attacks.
Swarming ants, just throwing bodies at the problem out of sheer frustration.
Because you're irritated. It's an emotional failure, not a tactical one. This connects so deeply to Stoicism. Seneca calls anger a short madness.
A short madness.
He says reacting out of irritation is a strategic failure. It feels like strength. I'm going to show them.
Yeah.
But it's actually a loss of control. A general who attacks because he's angry is not leading. He's venting. And venting is expensive. It's an ego battle. So avoid ego battles.
Okay, let's get really tactical. We have these high-level concepts. What are the actual strategy levers I can pull in my daily life?
The first one is the most important. Define the objective. You cannot win if you don't know what winning looks like. Is winning making them admit you were right? Or is winning getting the project finished on time?
Because usually those two are mutually exclusive.
Exactly. You have to be ruthless about defining the real win. The second lever. Know what matters to each side. Sun Tzu's know the enemy and know yourself. What are their hidden needs? Maybe they're arguing about the budget, but what they really need is not look foolish in front of their boss.
If you know that, you can give them a win that costs you nothing.
Correct. Which leads to the next lever. Create options. Don't get trapped in a binary win-lose. If you're cornered into a yes or no, you're in a siege. If you say, how about we try A, B, or C, you're maneuvering in the open field.
We talked about controlling tone and timing, and the final lever was avoid ego battles. You mentioned the Golden Bridge.
Yes. Sun Tzu advises to never surround an enemy completely. You must leave them a way to escape.
Why? Wouldn't you want to trap them?
If you trap them, they fight to the death. They have nothing left to lose. They become incredibly dangerous. If you leave them a golden bridge, a way to retreat with dignity, they will almost always take it.
So in an argument, you let the other person save face.
You build them a bridge so they can walk over to your side without feeling humiliated. That is taking the enemy whole and intact. Let's put that on the screen. Keep it whole and intact.
Okay, let's apply this. 3 practical examples. Work, relationships, habits. Let's start with work. The scenario is the alignment meeting.
Right. Complex project. Marketing wants one thing, engineering wants another. The mistake is waiting for the big kickoff meeting to argue it out.
That's attacking the army.
It is. The strategic win is holding an alignment meeting before the chaos starts. You define success early. You go to the engineering lead and say, what does a win look like for you? You go to marketing. You resolve the conflicts before the meeting.
You are balking the enemy's plans by removing the confusion that causes the fight.
By the time the meeting happens, the victory is already won. The meeting is just a ceremony.
Okay, example 2. Relationships. The calm moment.
Scenario: a recurring domestic disagreement about chores, money, whatever. The mistake is bringing it up when you're angry. That's the siege.
The strategic win.
Choosing a calm moment. Sunday morning. You use repair language. You say, hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed by the schedule. How can we solve this? You're not trying to defeat your partner. You are trying to defeat the problem together.
And the third one, habits. Environmental design.
Right. You're trying to break a bad habit, like too much phone usage. The mistake is just relying on willpower.
Fighting the army in the field.
A battle of attrition you will eventually lose. The strategic win is to design the environment. Put the phone in another room. Put it in a timed lockbox. You remove the friction of doing the right thing and add friction to the wrong thing. You win against the bad habit before the urge even strikes.
You balk the habits plan. This is powerful stuff. It makes winning feel less like a fight and more like engineering.
It is engineering.
Yeah.
Engineering circumstances.
Yeah. So we have a guided exercise for anyone listening, a highest win checklist you can use right now.
Yes. 7 steps to walk through for any conflict.
Okay, step 1.
Define the objective in one clear sentence. I want the quarterly report finished by Friday without overtime.
Step 2.
Name what would make this easy. What's the path of least resistance?
Step 3.
Identify the biggest friction point. A person's ego, a lack of resources. Find the enemy strategy.
Step 4.
Choose one low-conflict action that changes the conditions. Send a clarifying email. Buy coffee.
Step 5.
Choose a calm phrase that lowers the heat. Plan your tone. Help me understand.
Step 6.
Choose one proof action you will do today. One small thing to set the strategy in motion.
And finally, step 7.
Close with a calm commitment to resolve this early. Commit to yourself that you will not let this escalate into a siege.
I love that. But even with a checklist, people mess this up. Let's run through 5 common mistakes and fixes.
Mistake 1, reacting to tone. Fix. Listen to the content, not the delivery. Don't let their emotion dictate your strategy.
Mistake 2, confusing position with interest.
Fix.
Ask why they want it, not just what they want. Dig for the interest.
Mistake 3, the ego trap.
Fix. Prioritize the outcome over being right.
Mistake 4, ignoring timing. Fix. Wait for the keen spirit. Don't push when resources like patience are low.
And mistake 5, scorched earth.
The fix is to remember the goal. Take the country whole. You have to work with these people again tomorrow. Leave the relationship intact.
This has been incredibly useful. It almost feels calming.
That's the effective strategy. Anxiety comes from not knowing what to do. Strategy gives you a map.
So let's recap. The key takeaways from Sun Tzu's attack by strategy.
The highest win breaks resistance without fighting.
Escalation is expensive and drains your resources.
Attacking strategy is always better than attacking armies.
Sieges and ego battles, they just lead to ruin.
Shape the conditions to make your desired result almost inevitable.
Control your tone and timing to lower the friction.
And always, always keep the objective whole and intact.
And that brings us to the end of this conversation. But we are not done with Sun Tzu.
Not even close. Next time, we're talking about positioning.
Positioning. Make yourself unbeatable. We're going to talk about how to secure yourself against defeat so that victory becomes a matter of simply waiting for the right opportunity. It's about becoming invincible.
It's where we learn that calculated restraint is power.
Exactly. Before you go, we have one final request. Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.